Hi there, everyone. It's 4 o'clock in New York. It is day 38 of the war with Iran. Here's where things stand. Donald Trump chose Easter Sunday to reveal the fullest portrait to date of his instability and lack of self-regulation and self-control. Trump forcing Republicans to either give voice to the reality that most Americans, including Marjorie Taylor Greene and Alex Jones among them, can see with their own eyes, or, politically speaking, go down with the ship. Exceedingly large majorities of Americans disapprove of Donald Trump's war with Iran and reject his shifting reasons for waging it. The war has caused an historic disruption to energy markets, and gas prices here continue to soar. Against that backdrop, or maybe because of it, Donald Trump threatened Iran with what would amount to war crimes over the weekend in a profanity-laden post Easter morning. Because he's the only president we have, we're going to read it to you. Quote, Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day all wrapped into one in Iran. There will be nothing like it, 3 exclamation points. Open the fucking straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. It was a post that was so crazy. It was sent by the President of the United States. It was sent on Easter morning. So a lot of people had to check to see if it was real, yours truly included. But Trump made sure we knew that it was real and that he wrote it by doubling down on the things he said in that post in a series of interviews, including this one with ABC News on Sunday. He said, quote, if no peace deal is reached with Iran in the next 48 hours, quote, we're blowing up the entire country, end quote. And then today, he said these things.
The entire country could be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night. We're giving them till tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time, and after that, they're going to have no bridges, they're going to have no power plants. Stone Ages.
Stone Ages. Stuff like that was really the tip of the iceberg in terms of the things that the President of the United States said today. Trump threatened to jail the journalist who revealed that an American service member, was missing after a fighter jet was shot down in Iran. When Trump was asked by a New York Times reporter whether Trump was concerned about committing war crimes, he said no, and then he attacked the New York Times for saying that Trump was going to lose an election. It is safe to describe it as erratic and unhinged. And we'll get to all of it over the course of the next 2 hours. But as for those strikes Trump keeps tweeting about and talking about against Iran, and what Trump may soon order the men and women of the United States military to do, according to Trump, as early as tomorrow night, former military lawyers warn that what Donald Trump is publicly calling for, if it is followed through, would, quote, amount to the most serious war crimes. And thus the president's statements place service members in a profoundly challenging situation. Iranian power plants and other critical civilian infrastructure are protected from attacks by the law of war of the United States that we helped craft after World War II. Despite those well-settled legal parameters, Trump has repeatedly threatened to obliterate such infrastructure without regard to the law's high demands. His comments are blatant expressions that he is willing to turn the U.S. into a rogue state, like Iran and Russia, one that rejects the fundamental legal restraints that protect innocent non-combatants like children and the Iranian civilian population itself. There is also the problem of how Trump's threats could further prolong and extend this now very unpopular war with Iran, not to mention the damage Donald Trump is doing to our reputation on the world stage. New York Times reports this, quote, the Trump administration's language and actions could have far-reaching consequences. Within Iran, it's likely to galvanize opposition to the U.S., including among some ordinary Iranians who have protested their own government. On the global stage, it could further diminish America's standing and weaken norms of state conduct in wartime that are intended to protect civilians. An unhinged Donald Trump threatening potential war crimes as he fails to find a clear way out of the war with Iran is where we start today. Lieutenant General Mark Hertling is here. He served as the commanding general of the U.S. Army in Europe. Anne Applebaum joins us as well. She's a columnist for The Atlantic. She's the host of the podcast Autocracy in America. General Hertling, I asked you on Wednesday before I was down sick for a couple days if Trump was sane. I want to re-up the question. Do you view him, or do you think men and women of the military view him as completely sane?
Not really, Nicole. I'll answer that timidly. But based on the rantings over the weekend, based on the press conference today, based on the things he's saying, which are obviously against the law, I think two things are happening. First of all, the president is becoming increasingly enamored with the power of American military. And secondly, he believes that he can use it in any way he wants without regard to international law, the laws of land warfare, the Geneva Convention, or just straight out morality, being a moral person with values. So it's increasingly concerning that he is stating some of these things, and the way he's stating them are true indicators that something is amiss in his personality or his approach to the presidency, the greatest power in the world.
Let me read from Just Security about what it does to the military when the rhetoric includes threats of carrying out war crimes. Quote, asking our military professionals, lawyers, and commanders alike to grapple with the president's erratic behavior is enormously consequential. U.S. military commanders have sworn to obey the Constitution and only those orders from their superiors that are lawful. Threats to bomb Iran back to the Stone Ages and to show, quote, no quarter, no mercy are plainly illegal. Trump's outrageous statements gravely threaten our military professionals' bedrock moral and legal principles, ones enshrined in the law of war that they've been trained to follow their entire careers. So we're post these trespasses, right? So these things have already happened. People warned that they could happen during the election. People warned that Hegseth might not be a good person to be on the wall for the rule of law inside the military. He's there anyway. And Trump is now threatening to bomb Iran to the Stone Ages. And Pete Hegseth has said that, in his view, the theory of war in Iran is to give no quarter. What does that mean inside the military, General?
It means you use any means possible to kill people. You're not going to let people escape. You're not going to take any prisoners. You're basically going to rape, pillage, and plunder, taking it back to the 17th century. And Nicole, what we're talking about is behavior that modern societies have condemned and said we ought to at least provide guidelines for those who have to execute violence. Those are soldiers. And, I'm going to go back to something you said a minute ago, because I've trained for 40 years as a soldier and as a commander. And when you're an officer in the United States Army, you're loyal to a couple of things. You're primarily loyal to the Constitution. You are also loyal to your superiors if they give, as you said, lawful orders. When they start giving unlawful orders, you find a way to push back on them and to make sure they adjust their approach. But you also are loyal to the soldiers that are under your command. So those three loyalties sometimes are conflicting. So I'm sure there's a lot of military commanders right now, a lot of senior officers who are saying to themselves, I can't obey an unlawful order. I can't do things that I know are absolutely wrong. But they also feel like they have to provide support for their soldiers who don't just get to quit. They have to stay in the military and potentially see an uprising in all of these things. So the senior military officers are in a real quandary on this one, because they know they can't do some of the things that the president is asking them to do. They have a Secretary of Defense who has continually said lethality is better than legality, or words to that effect. So it's really causing some dynamics within those who are thinking soldiers, saying, how do I continue to serve my Constitution and live by the rules that are in law and still conduct these kind of actions, which are horribly immoral and illegal?